Have you ever felt like something in your world shifted, but you couldn't put your finger on what changed? Like you woke up one day and nothing was obviously different, but somehow, deep inside, everything felt off, slightly unfamiliar, as if the rhythm of life had skipped a beat and now you're walking in a melody you don't fully recognize. They told you that reality shifts are dramatic, that you'd see undeniable signs, strange dreams, repeated numbers, glitches in the matrix. They made you believe that if your reality was really shifting, you'd know. You'd feel lightning bolts, synchronicities exploding like fireworks, your future self standing in your living room waving hello. But what if that's not how it actually works? What if the shift is happening, quietly, subtly, invisibly? What if the real confirmation that your reality is shifting isn't a big sign from the sky, but a soft whisper in your emotions? Let me be honest with you. Most of the time, the shift doesn't arrive with thunder. It comes wrapped in stillness. It arrives when you least expect it, in the form of a moment you almost overlook. A sigh that lingers too long, a place that suddenly doesn't feel like home. A hobby that used to excite you now feels empty. It's like a train switching tracks deep underground. Above the surface, everything still looks the same, but the destination, it's no longer where you thought you were going. And science has been catching up with this truth. Quantum biologists like Bruce Lipton have shown that our biology, our very cells, respond not just to the environment, but to belief, to perception, which means when your inner world shifts, your outer world has no choice but to follow. Spiritual teachings have echoed this for centuries. You don't change timelines with action alone. You shift them when your internal resonance aligns with a new frequency. Still, most people miss it. Not because the signal is too hidden, but because they're too busy looking for something else, waiting for some grand event, while the true confirmation has already arrived, quietly, within. And that's what we're here to explore. In this video, you're going to uncover the hidden confirmation that your reality is, in fact, already shifting, and how to recognize it, align with it, and use it to step into the timeline where your soul already lives. If this theme resonates with you, if something inside you whispered yes while listening, then subscribe to the channel and walk this path with me. Don't let this moment pass unnoticed. The shift has already begun. Let's walk into it together. Now, let's go deeper. Because we're going to uncover the subtle emotional signal that most people ignore, but that silently confirms your reality is already changing from the inside out. The subtle signal, emotional displacement. Sometimes the most powerful shifts begin with a strange kind of silence inside you. Not sadness, not fear, just a gentle disconnection, like walking into a room you've known forever, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like home. You might not even notice it at first. It begins with something small. The book you couldn't put down now feels meaningless. The music that once moved your soul suddenly doesn't touch you the same way. A conversation that once gave you energy now leaves you hollow. This is emotional displacement. It's your soul moving before your mind can understand. It's the subtle signal that your internal resonance is outgrowing the timeline you were once aligned with. And while your physical reality still mirrors the old you, your emotional body is already migrating to a new frequency. Quietly, gently, but powerfully. You start feeling waves of emotion that seem to have no clear cause. You wake up with a weight in your chest, but nothing bad has happened. You feel joy for no reason, and then moments later, a deep stillness takes over. And that stillness isn't emptiness, it's space. Space being created inside you for something that hasn't arrived yet, but already exists in a timeline that is calling you forward. But here's where it gets confusing. Most people mistake this emotional shift for depression. for lack of motivation, for burnout. They think something's wrong, when in truth something is moving. Let me explain. When a snake is about to shed its skin, it doesn't rush toward light. It retreats. It becomes still. Its vision gets blurry. It waits. The process is internal, slow, uncomfortable, but necessary. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. And yes, that can look like detachment, like boredom, like numbness. But what if I told you that boredom isn't a lack of energy? It's misaligned energy. What once resonated no longer fits. That's not loss. That's confirmation. You've seen it before. You just didn't know how to read it. Think about the last time you felt an emotion that didn't match your outer circumstances. That moment where you felt both gratitude and grief at once. That strange mix of knowing something was over, even if nothing had actually changed yet. That's the emotional echo of a shift already underway. Pause for a moment, breathe. Can you feel anything inside you right now that feels not wrong, but unfamiliar? That's the signal. That's the whisper beneath the noise. That's the beginning of alignment. And if that emotion had a name right now, what would it be? Write it in the comments. Choose one word that anchors the feeling you're in, the one that doesn't have a name, but needs a space to exist. Maybe it's release. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's becoming. Let it land, let it breathe, let it speak. Because now we go even deeper. We're going to explore why your reality might be shifting in ways you didn't expect, and how that quiet transformation is often more real than anything you can see with your eyes. Why the shift doesn't look like you expected. You were told that when your life changes, you'll know, that everything will fall into place like a scene from a movie. That the signs will be obvious, the upgrades immediate, the transformation unmistakable. But the truth, real shifts don't look like Hollywood. They look like confusion, like cleaning out a closet and not knowing what to keep, like meeting your future before you're fully done with your past. Shifts are rarely sudden explosions. They are subtle rewrites, micro movements in your energy that create ripple effects in your perception, a tiny change in the way you breathe during conflict, a softer voice in moments you used to react, an urge to walk away, not out of fear, but out of peace. And yet, because we've been programmed to expect fireworks, we miss the quiet brilliance of real transformation. We overlook it, we question it, we even resist it, because it doesn't match the fantasy we created. Joe Dispenza often reminds us, the brain is not designed to seek transformation, it is designed to maintain familiarity. When you begin rewiring your neural patterns, it doesn't feel magical. It feels uncomfortable, foreign, sometimes even boring. But that discomfort is a signal. It means the old identity is no longer running the show. It means new circuits are being laid down in silence, and the silence itself is sacred. Let me give you an example. You've probably had a moment where you made a new choice, chose not to argue, chose to stay silent, chose to rest instead of push, and then felt like nothing changed. But later that day, something flowed easier. A conversation that would have drained you felt lighter. A door you weren't expecting opened. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Every time you act from your future self, you are anchoring that timeline. You're not waiting for the shift, you're becoming it. But here's the tricky part. Your ego still wants a dramatic sign. It wants proof. It wants the world to change first, so it can feel safe. But the quantum field doesn't work that way. The field responds to frequency, not need, to vibration, not expectation. So the more you expect your shift to look like a scene from a movie, the more likely you are to overlook the very real transformations already happening inside you. Let go of the fantasy. Embrace the subtle. Because we're going to explore the real-time feedback mechanism of the universe and how life is constantly speaking back to you, reflecting your frequency with absolute precision. But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? The real-time feedback mechanism of the universe. What if life was already responding to your shift, but you didn't know how to listen? The universe isn't silent. It echoes, it reflects. It whispers in experiences, in sensations, in subtle mismatches between your energy and your environment. The question isn't whether reality is speaking to you. The question is, are you paying attention to what it's saying? Every thought, every intention, every internal shift sends out a signal, and life reflects it back with perfect precision. Not to punish, not to test, but to reveal. When something feels out of sync in your outer world, a conversation goes sideways, technology glitches, plans fall apart. We're trained to see it as a mistake or bad luck. But what if these small disturbances are actually real-time mirrors of your vibrational narrative? What if the external is not failing you, it's showing you where you're out of alignment? Let me give you an example. You decide to embody peace. You commit to calm. But then your day begins with chaos, noise, tension, people pushing your buttons. You think, why is this happening if I'm shifting? But here's the truth. The feedback doesn't come after the shift, it comes with it. The universe is testing your frequency, not by punishing you, but by allowing you to witness yourself inside new conditions. The chaos isn't there to throw you off, it's there to see if the peace is real. This is what quantum physics calls the observer effect. The moment you become aware, truly aware, of a pattern, the pattern begins to dissolve. Your attention changes outcomes. Your perception creates the frame through which reality is allowed to behave. In spiritual terms, your field goes first, matter follows. And this is where the magic lives. Not in dramatic synchronicities alone, but in the daily echoes, the patterns you're being invited to change, the signals life keeps repeating until you no longer react the same way. Your subconscious broadcasts a signal all day long, not with words, but with frequencies. Those frequencies narrate your story in real time. They dictate who you notice, what you attract, how you're treated, and even how time bends around you. Synchronicity isn't luck. It's dialogue. It's the universe repeating itself until you remember what you forgot. You walk into a room and hear the exact phrase you were just thinking. You look at the clock and see a number sequence that's followed you all year. You meet someone whose story reflects your own. Not by chance, but because resonance pulled you into the same field. Pause now. Breathe. Has something like that happened recently? Something so small it felt insignificant, but for a moment it caught your breath, stirred something inside, and then passed. That was feedback. That was resonance. That was the field confirming that you're tuning in to a new frequency. And when you start paying attention, the signals multiply, not because they weren't there before, but because now you've learned how to read them. Let's go deeper. Because next, we'll explore why your mind might be filtering out the very evidence of your shift, and how your brain, in trying to protect you, might actually be blinding you to the signs that your reality is already changing. How the brain filters shift evidence. Your reality may already be shifting, but what if your brain is deleting the proof? The human brain is brilliant, but it's also biased. It doesn't show you what's real. It shows you what's familiar, what fits the version of life it already believes to be true. And this means that when reality begins to change, your brain may actually fight to protect the illusion that nothing is happening. At the center of this process is the reticular activating system, the RAS. This tiny bundle of nerves acts like the gatekeeper of your perception. It filters billions of bits of information every second, deciding what enters your conscious awareness and what gets deleted. It doesn't filter by truth, it filters by belief. If your subconscious is wired to believe nothing ever works out for me, the RAS will begin to ignore or minimize opportunities, signs, and synchronicities, not because they aren't there, but because they don't match the internal story your nervous system is still rehearsing. This is why shifts can be so disorienting. You might already be in a new energetic timeline. You might even be attracting new frequencies, new people, new chances. But your brain keeps pulling your eyes back to the old patterns. It's not lying to you on purpose. It's trying to protect you from the unfamiliar. But here's the paradox. The unfamiliar is often exactly what you've been asking for. Bruce Lipton teaches that the subconscious mind runs the show 95% of the time. This means even if you consciously want change, your unconscious programming might be filtering out the signs that it's already happening. Not because you're broken, but because your biology is trained to equate safety with sameness. But sameness doesn't equal truth, and comfort doesn't equal alignment. Here's how to shift the filter. First, you must understand that your perception is not neutral. It's curated. Every belief, every trauma, every memory you've ever stored is editing what you see and don't see. Your reality is not objective, it's personalized. Let me give you an example. Two people walk through the same forest. One sees peace, the other sees danger. One sees beauty in the unknown. The other sees threat in every shadow. The forest is the same. Their filters are not. Now apply that to your life. When you begin to notice more light, more flow, more moments of grace, don't dismiss them as coincidence. Recognize them as cracks in the old filter. This is where your power begins, in the noticing. Because when you notice a new pattern and consciously choose to believe it, the RAS begins to update the filter, slowly, patiently, but irreversibly. Pause here. Breathe. You've already come this far into the video. That means something inside you is resonating. Something is shifting. Take a moment and tell us in the comments, have you ever felt this exact thing? A moment when you knew something was changing, even if nothing around you looked different. Your story might be the reflection someone else needs right now. And if this resonates with you, consider subscribing to our channel. Join this space of awakening and exploration. Because we're not done. We're just beginning. Stay with me, because next we'll move into something even more grounded. A step-by-step vibrational practice that can help you confirm, align, and embody the frequency of your new reality. A practice to confirm your shift through frequency alignment. There's a difference between believing your reality is shifting and embodying the shift. Belief lives in the mind. Embodiment lives in the body. In your breath, your choices, your frequency. It's one thing to know you're becoming someone new. It's another to feel it in your bones and behave from that truth, even when the world hasn't caught up yet. So how do you confirm a shift that hasn't fully manifested? You feel it through alignment. You confirm it not by waiting for proof, but by becoming the proof yourself. Not by chasing signs, but by practicing resonance. Here's the process. Step 1, energetic inventory. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what in your life feels slightly off right now? Not wrong necessarily, just out of sync. What used to energize you that now feels heavy? What conversations drain you? What places no longer fit? These sensations aren't problems. They're coordinates. They're pointing to a version of you that's evolving and inviting you to catch up. Step 2, timeline tracking. Take a moment, even if just for a few minutes a day, to journal the subtle changes you're noticing. Not the big breakthroughs, the small shifts, how you responded differently, what no longer triggered you, a moment of peace you wouldn't have allowed yourself before. These small logs become powerful evidence of a vibrational timeline taking form. Step 3. Action anchoring. This is where the transformation becomes real. Choose a single micro-action that aligns with your future self. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be aligned. Maybe it's choosing silence over proving your point. Drinking water with full presence, walking without your phone, sending a message you were afraid to send from a place of calm, not fear. These micro-decisions send a signal into the quantum field. This is who I am now. Let me give you an example. Mirror neurons in your brain don't just respond to the world, they shape how you become. When you act like the version of you who is already shifted, your body begins to wire those behaviors as your new baseline. Your nervous system stops preparing for the old future and begins calibrating to the new one. This is the science of embodiment, because in the quantum realm, action isn't just cause and effect, it's cause and alignment. When you behave in resonance with your desired frequency, your body becomes a signal tower. You stop waiting for signs and start generating them. You don't just read energy, you broadcast it. Pause now, breathe into your heart. Ask it gently, what small action today would align me with who I'm becoming? Don't try to force the answer. Let it rise. Let it come with softness, with trust. Because that action, however simple, is your portal. That's the door you walk through, not to escape your current reality, but to become the magnet for your next one. And now we're ready to uncover something deeper. Because even with all of this alignment, there's still something that pulls you back. A force that whispers you back into the old self. In the next part, we'll expose that quiet voice, the hidden saboteur that keeps you addicted to the version of you you've outgrown. Let's go there together. The hidden saboteur, your addiction to the old reality. There's a reason why change feels hard, even when we say we want it. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because deep inside your nervous system, there's a version of you that has learned to find safety in the struggle, comfort in the chaos, identity in the old pain. And it's this hidden addiction to the familiar version of reality that silently pulls you back, even when your soul is ready to leap forward. Let me explain. The body stores emotion as memory, not just in the mind, but in the cells, in the muscles, in the patterns you live on, repeat. And over time, those emotional loops become chemically addictive. The stress, the overthinking, the waiting, even the disappointment. They all become part of a vibrational rhythm your body learns to expect. So when peace comes, it feels suspicious. When ease shows up, your system starts scanning for the threat. When nothing goes wrong, your mind looks for what must be missing. This is frequency addiction. It's not about liking the pain. It's about depending on it to confirm who you've been. And yet, just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's meant to stay. This is what Edgar Cayce warned about when he spoke of karmic loops. The unconscious repetition of patterns, not because we choose them, but because we forgot that we could choose something else. The echo of a frequency we no longer need, but haven't yet released. Let me give you an example. Have you ever caught yourself repeating a reaction, snapping at someone, pulling away, sabotaging an opportunity, and afterward thought, why did I do that? That's not who I want to be. That's the echo, that's the pull, that's the identity trying to preserve itself. But here's the truth, the old version of you doesn't need to be killed off or rejected. It needs to be witnessed, seen, thanked, released with compassion because it served a purpose, survival, protection, belonging. But now, It's time to graduate. Here's how the shift begins. You recognize the old pattern not as failure, but as a memory, a vibration that once kept you safe, but now keeps you stuck. And with love, you choose differently. Not always perfectly, not always instantly, but consciously, repeatedly. That choice rewires timelines, that forgiveness resets your field, that surrender is not weakness, it's alignment. So pause, feel this moment. Ask yourself gently, what version of me have I been holding on to just because it felt familiar? Let the answer rise, without judgment. Because now you're going to remember something vital. The signs you've been waiting for aren't out there. They've always been within you. And the signal, it's you. You are the signal you've been waiting for. You don't need more signs. You are the sign. All this time, you've been scanning the world for proof, hoping the universe would whisper something undeniable, that life would show up with a clear message, a flashing light, a cosmic confirmation that things are shifting. But maybe the whisper isn't coming from outside. Maybe it's coming from within. The real shift doesn't announce itself with grand events. It unfolds in the way you breathe differently when triggered, in the way you pause instead of react, in the way you choose stillness when chaos knocks at your door. The shift is not some future moment waiting to arrive. It's here, it's now, it's you. Right now, in this exact moment, you're living a scene your past self prayed for. And you're carrying seeds of a future timeline. In your choices, your words, your presence, that's the hidden signal. Not the thing that happens to you, but the vibration you choose to carry again and again, even when no one else sees it. So ask yourself, what if the glitch was the gift? What if the feeling that something's changing, even when everything looks the same, is your soul's way of saying, you've already begun? Pause now. Breathe into that knowing. You've come all this way, not by accident, not out of curiosity, but because you knew. Some part of you has always known that something deeper is moving through you, that the life you've imagined isn't a fantasy. It's a memory of what's already possible. And if this video gave voice to something you couldn't explain, thank you. Thank you for being here, for feeling this with me, for walking this path of expansion and remembrance. Leave a comment and let me know. Did this speak to you? Did it reflect something you felt but couldn't name? Your voice matters here. Like this video if it moved something inside you. Subscribe if this kind of truth calls you home. And don't stop here. The next video waiting for you is filled with even more clarity, guidance, and energy to help you stabilize the shift and walk fully into your new reality. We're building something powerful together, not just a channel, but a community of conscious creators rewriting the field from the inside out. And remember, the reality begins where your old pattern ends. See you in the next video.